boots that you're wearing now that fit like slippers, we'll make sure they still protect you. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 signs that you need to replace your boots. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I'm a bit of a cheap ass and I hate spending a lot of money on gear. And so what ends up happening is I take my gear beyond its usable lifespan. And so I have some boots here that are showing some significant signs of wear. And I wanted to go over that with you. So if you have a pair of boots that really show any of these signs, it may be time to replace them. Boots are extremely important because of the protection they provide your foot, ankle, and shin, especially if you're doing off-road riding. A good pair of boots can really save you if you drop your bike and you get trapped underneath. It'll help protect your ankle and foot, shin. If you've got tall boots, it'll keep you from banging your shin on the foot pegs. And then if you're doing off-road riding and you're coming close to trees or rocks and your foot could potentially get yanked off of your peg, it's good to have something that has protection. So boots are quite important, and I don't recommend taking your boots and using them as long as I did. So I'll go through the 5 signs that it's time to replace your boots. So stick around. All right, the first thing that you should look at is whether or not the buckles or these plastic straps are continuing to work. If they're not staying tight, then it could be a problem with the buckle itself or the plastic retention. Some boots can have these replaced, so if your boots aren't staying tight and you know it's this, maybe consider replacing that if the rest of the boot looks okay. But if during the course of the day your boots continually loosen, it's because these aren't holding. And mine are not holding at all. If your boots, where they're sewn together, is starting to come apart in the back, especially the bellows area, where there's some articulation, if I was to go down, you're going to have an area where these boots aren't going to hold up and they could come apart right there. And so that becomes a safety issue where the stitching is coming apart. So if your boots are starting to show that the stitching is coming apart and the boot itself is starting to come apart, it's time to replace it. All right, this one is pretty significant. If the boot sole is starting to delaminate from the boot upper, then it's time to replace it. Because at this point, I don't know when the sole is actually going to fully detach and be flapping. If it starts flapping, I could get it caught on my peg and not have a solid surface. So that is another sign. If your boots are starting to delaminate from the sole, then it's time to replace your boots. Another sign that it's time to replace your boots is if the sole is wearing through, maybe where your pegs go into it. I've had another sole that was made up into pieces, and at the conclusion of a ride, I had a whole entire chunk of the sole fall out. So you can tell I take my boots a little longer than they should go. So if you're starting to see wear through the sole of your boot, or if the flexibility is getting to be too much, it doesn't have that rigidity, especially if you're doing off-road riding to give you support, then it's time to replace your boots. This is the 5th and final sign that you need to replace your boots. If you are moving across country to a different state and you leave your boot on the top of your SUV and drive away, then you might find when you get where you'd moved to that you may need to replace your boots. So that was pretty disappointing when I got home or got to my new home and realized that I was missing a boot. So try to keep track of those things, especially if you've spent multiple hundreds of dollars on them like I did. It made me sick to my stomach for about a week. So yeah, don't do that. Hey, look, I get it. Breaking in new boots is awful. But those boots that you're wearing now that fit like slippers, we'll make sure they still protect you, because usually by the time a pair of boots gets so comfortable you can wear them all day, the protection that they're offering may not be there. I put this video together for fun and also as kind of a public service announcement, I guess. Don't take your boots past their usable date. Yeah, boots can be very expensive, but there are some things that you can do. There's some alternatives. Going with a motocross boot, if you're gonna be doing a lot of off-roading, they are big, they are clunky, but they offer quite a bit of protection. And if you're spending very much time off-road, the protection will be appreciated. So you don't necessarily have to spend hundreds of dollars to get the protection. It just doesn't have all the features that the more expensive boots would have. So I hope you found this useful, especially if your boots look as bad as mine. Just do yourself a favor, replace them so that you don't find yourself in an issue in the hospital saying, man, I really wished I had replaced my boots sooner because something's happened. Get out, do some riding, ride safe. Hopefully the weather is good where you're at. If it's not, bundle up, do the best you can, and I will see you out there.